Welcome back, everyone. Let's get back to the conversation. If you ask different Nigerians, they will tell you what they think the problems of Nigeria is. Some people will say, oh, it's our constitution. Some others will say corruption. But tonight, we're getting insight from a senior lawyer, senior advocate of Nigeria, Chief Robert Clarke, who says, look, corruption is at the beck and call of the bad constitution that we run. As soon as we fix the constitution, he believes corruption will be well fought in that. Thank you so much, Chief Robert Clarke, for talking to us. In few moments, I'd like you to react to this. This is about the rule of law and citizens' rights. And the PDP today came out and they're alleging what they describe as the move by President Muhammadu Buhari and the Buhari-led All Progressives Congress, APC federal government to gag the media, subjugate Nigerians, and curtail their constitutionally guaranteed freedom of expression. The PDP says the decision of President Buhari to impose stringent regulations on online media and broadcast organizations, as recently announced by the Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, is completely obnoxious, anti-democratic, and a direct violation of statutory rules governing media practice and freedom of expression in Nigeria. The PDP went further to say they reject the presidential declaration of political comments as, quote, Class A, end of quote, offense, insisting that such is designed to undermine the nation's constitutional democracy, exterminate the rights of citizens to dissenting public opinion, emasculate the opposition, and foist a dictatorship and one-party system on our nation. Chief Clarke, from your own point of view as a lawyer, do you think that we are gradually drifting towards a dictatorship or a one-party state?
I would say the statement by the PDP and its leadership is a political statement. It does not fall within the reality of what is happening in Nigeria today. I can say with greatest emphasis that Nigeria's press today is the freest in Africa and is as free as any press in the Western world. But what we fail to understand is that where even the government tries to gag the position of the country today in terms of enlightenment, in terms of the many television stations we have, radio stations, and also the social media, it will be foolhardy for any government to think they can gag or stifle the press. I don't believe this government is doing that. They will be stupid to do that, and they are not stupid.
But, so, I mean, how would you react to or assess the manner in which and approach in which this federal government is handling the court orders and some of those who are behind bars today who are seen in some part of the society as politically exposed persons who are perhaps being of dissenting voices and that are of anti-government of the day? Would you say that some politically dissenting voices against government are being gagged or victimized?
You see, the PDP is making a mountain out of Showale's case. You cannot use one single matter to define the position of the nature of gagging or emasculation or a tyranny or a one-party system. You cannot use Showale's case. Showale's case is a marginal case between democratic method and autocratic method. Whichever divide you are, you may form your own opinion. If you are in the divide of PDP today, they will tell you that he is being gagged, Showale is being emasculated, but if you are on the other side of the coin, the APC, they will tell you no. Due process is being followed in his case. You show me where due process has not been done.
What about the other? People will raise cases of this case of Dasuki Ozaki on the orders of court for their release on bail.
Dasuki's case has been flogged many times here. I have made comments about it too. As I said, these are singular cases. They are not a general norm. You see, when something is of a singular nature, you don't feel shaken by it. But when that singular norm is becoming a general norm, then you and I will be afraid. Outside Dasuki's case, is there any other case you want to show?
El-Zakzaky?
Huh?
El-Zakzaky?
El-Zakzaky has, a religious connotation. You see, as I said, these are singular cases.
But in general,
the
Buhari government, from your own point of view, is fair and is not gagging the press, according to allegations.
I can say, from what I see and what I observe, that this government is not gagging the press.
Okay.
They're not.
Chief Robert Clarke, let's get to our Abuja studio for a moment, and let me bring in my panel tonight from our Abuja studio. I have joining me Mr. Kasim Afegbua, spokesperson of the People's Democratic Party Presidential Campaign Organization, and Mr. Akinsiju, chairman of the Buhari Media Organization. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming on tonight. Let me get your reaction to this, and let me start from Mr. Kasim Afegbua. You heard what Chief Clarke says, that, look, it does not look like the Buhari government is gagging or is autocratic or is, according to the PDP, that is against dissenting voice.
Well, Chief Clarke is entitled to his opinion. He's a Nigerian and a senior advocate of Nigeria, for that matter, of so many years standing, so he's entitled to his opinion. But I'm still wondering why a government that is not trying to gag the press will come up with very obnoxious fees that will be paid by media organizations if, in their own opinion, they are found to have contravened certain sections of the NBC Code or NBC Act. I think under a democracy, the president does not enjoy that fiat to decide or to decree fees into existence in a manner that would suggest that he's taking over the responsibility of the National Assembly, which is vested with that responsibility of making laws for the good governance of the country. So to the extent of increasing penalties for breaches from 500,000 to 5 million, and in that sequence, I think is quite undemocratic, unbecoming of a democracy, and I think it's an attempt to gag the press and also instill fears in the minds of the people.
Mr. Akinsiju, how would you react to this, especially for those who believe that the government of the day is so afraid of dissenting voices, such that in case of Showore, El-Zakzaky, Dasuki, some other people who are said to be political prisoners, according to the chairman of the PDP, Uche Secondus, behind bars because of their dissenting opinions?
Definitely, there's no political prisoner or prisoners in Nigeria. And of course, I can't go beyond the submission by respected Chief Robert Clarke. He has established the direction in this discussion, as it were. This president, and I keep saying this, is an extreme Democrat. He's tolerant, he's accommodative of dissenting opinions. In fact, he jokes with himself with some of the headlines that you get to see in the Nigerian media. So I believe to a large extent that the president is press friendly, is media friendly. And beyond that, the fact of this NBC provision that we talk about, I think it simply relates to lying. No media house is expected to secure a license, operate for the purpose of circulating lies or untruth or misinformation or things that deviate from the truth. So to that extent, even if it was 500,000 as it were before, the fact of it is where a media house decides to breach the trust, because a media house holds in trust the responsibility of providing the truth and information to Nigerians. So where a media house would deliberately, circulate misinformation or untruth or falsehood deliberately, I think even if it's a naira, it is a breach of the responsibility of that media house. I am a trained, certificated media practitioner, and I know what it is to always sustain the truth at any point in time, because that is the pillar, of media practice. So it is not even about the money. It is about the conduct of the practice of media. So a media house is not expected to circulate or to distribute or to share untruth. That's the truth of the matter.
Mr. Akinsiju, I would like to ask you this because of would you call it isolated cases of someone like Abba Jalingo in Cross River State, cases of Daddy Yatta, whom a lot of people say they don't know his whereabouts. There is also an online publisher in Bayelsa State who at some point they said they didn't know where his whereabouts at some point. Now he's been charged. But some of these people at some point were kept or being arrested and put behind bars, and their whereabouts were not known. How would you react to some of the allegations that this government is intolerant to some strong opinions that are somewhat harsh on its operations or its performance or its activities?
Speaking specifically to those instances, you would also remember that the federal government is controlled and governed by APC, All Progressive Congress. These states that you are talking about are governed by PDP, the People's Democratic Party. And incidentally, it will seem that it's the PDP that is raising the issue here. So we should ask the PDP chairman or my colleague here, to explain this. We are bothered. In fact, the Cross River Jalingo, the Cross River individual here, the Cross River victim, is said to be an active APC person. And since about 2 weeks ago that I had been harassed, ambushed, and of course brought to court in handcuffs, we felt so embarrassed, and we have been making efforts, to track him down. It's near impossible. We don't even know his whereabouts. So it's a PDP state, and I think it's the PDP that should be responsible for this explanation, as it were.
But what about the case of Daddy Yatta? That's another case that has cropped up several times.
Yeah, it's also a state matter. It's not a federal matter. So we can't possibly give explanation for that. So it's... As I said,
in this case, it's not a
PDP
state, it's an APC state. So how do you explain that? Because you gave explanation for the PDP state.
I can't explain that because it is the subnational. It's the subnational. They have their right. They have their relationship. They have their powers. It is wrong. I individually, as a person, condemn any act of ambush, harassment of any media practitioner. But the most important thing, and I keep insisting it, the media is responsible for circulating and, of course, sharing truths.
All right. Let me allow Mr. Afegbua to react to some of the things that you said on this isolated case. I intentionally asked you so that I can get his reaction to it. So intentionally also, I'm asking you to react to what Mr. Akinsiju has said over some of those cases where we have a lot of the members of the PDP that have raised allegations against the APC-controlled federal government that they are against dissenting voices.
Sheun, I think Mr. Akinsiju is just trying to be clever by half, in the sense that the APC federal government controls the DSS, they control the police, they control the army, and all the apparatus of security. So to that extent, they will be dodging the responsibility of not owning up to some of these issues because, because they just want to apportion blame to the PDP. But having said that, you see, the law guarding particularly broadcast media is very clear. The NBC Code is an old law that was put in place under the military government and is long overdue for, some amendments. But we are worried about a situation where the APC-led federal government will be headed by, has an NBC that is headed by an APC card-carrying member who ran for election in Kwara State for governorship and being made to be the Director General of the NBC to superintend or moderate the activities of the broadcast media. That is why we saw sometimes ago, about 4 or 5 months ago, when they brought the sledgehammer on the African Independent Television over what, in their own estimation, the term flouting the laws or the code of the NBC. So I'm saying that under a democracy, the National Assembly has the right to make laws and to also make amendments. That's one. Secondly, the law courts are vested with the powers, to interpret these laws, to decide who breaches a particular provision of the code or not. Not the DG, who is a card-carrying member of of the ruling party, waking up and taking a decision in his own estimation without approaching the law courts. That is where the issue of gagging is coming, and that is where you see them saying that from 500,000 they are increasing the penalty to 5 million in order to put stricter measures to prevent free speech, from the polity.
All right, let's take a break now. When we come back, we'll be talking about the issues of the budget and anti-corruption war. I still have Chief Robert Clarke here with me in our Lagos studio. But before we go on our break, let me show you these on Did You See That? Here is the governor of Ogun State, Mr. Dapo Abiodun, at an event to discuss the budget of the state. Little did he know that he was going to be lured into dancing by his supporters at this event. Now, take a look at the governor. He's not the first governor that will be caught on camera in public dancing, but how would you rate his dancing skills? And there's been criticisms on the 2020 budget, which the president describes as a budget of sustaining growth and job creation. We dissect that before we leave on the program tonight. Join us again.